I'm Nadia Moraglio from the Writing Skills Improvement Program, and today we're going to talk about punctuation. So first of all, what is the point of punctuation? We use punctuation to create pauses, distinguish words and phrases, define relationships between grammatical elements and ideas, and also to support clarity in our sentences. Every time we do not use punctuation correctly, then we end up with fragments or run-on sentences, and the content is not as clear. For example, why does punctuation matter? If we say, let's eat grandpa, that means we're going to go eat grandpa. That's probably not a good idea. But if we say, let's eat grandpa, that means we're inviting grandpa to go out eat. That's probably a better idea. This is a paragraph that has no punctuation at all. I would like you to make a pause and use all the punctuation that you think is necessary to connect or make pauses in the sentences. There are 3 levels of punctuation. At the first level, we have sentence stoppers. At the second, we're trying to make relationships between our sentences. And at the third level, we're making pauses. Now, let's take a look at the text that I ask you to use punctuation. And let's try to categorize the punctuation we have used. For example, the last film I saw was La La Land. Then I need a level 1 sentence stopper because I have a complete idea. In some ways, introductory sentence, relationship marker, it is a very old-fashioned musical, comma, yet the setting and right humor are contemporary, period. So this is another complete sentence, and it is combined of 2 sentences that I'm establishing a relationship using yet one of the coordinating conjunctions. The chemistry between the 2 lead actors is believable, semicolon. I could have used a period, but because the next sentence is strictly related to the previous one, it's okay to use a semicolon, use a transition word in fact, and then a comma. Is this chemistry the main source of the film's popularity? And then I have an interrogative point, which is also a sentence stopper. Now, let's talk about introductory phrases. If I say, in 1950, my mother's family emigrated to the United States, this section, in 1950, it answers the question when. When did my mother families migrated to the United States? So because it answers the question when, I can put it at the beginning of the sentence and put a comma. I could also place in 1950 at the end of the sentence, but in that way I would not use any punctuation. The next example, throughout the novel, Twain mocks the racist characters. Throughout the novel answers the question where. It's throughout the novel. That's why it also acts as an introductory phrase, and I need to add a comma as well. Now, the second rule that we're going to look at is related to relative clauses, and we're going to decide whether those are necessary or not necessary. For example, if I say University of Arizona students who are typically 18 to 30 years of age come from all over the US. Now, this clause over here, who are typically 18 to 30 years of age, is placed into commas because it's non-essential. That means it's not necessary. It's just additional information about who are those University of Arizona students. However, in the second sentence, University of Arizona students who come from colder places often find Arizona summers brutal. Now, not every student from the U of A find Arizona summers brutal. Maybe only those who come from colder places find Arizona summers brutal. So that's why we do not have any commas before the who and after places, because it answers specifically which students. So that information is necessary. Now, the comma to mark the extra information provided in a non-essential clause. So Mark Twain, comma, who remains popular among American readers, comma, was born in Missouri. Now, the main idea is that Mark Twain was born in Missouri. Mark Twain is a famous writer, so the who remains popular among American readers is additional information. That's why we can put that into commas. Now, when this clause is essential, you do not use the commas. For example, students who attend study sessions will do well on their final exams. Now, which students will do well on their final exam? Specifically those who attend study sessions. That's why I'm not putting any commas in this sentence. Those who do not will do poorly. So who will do poorly? Those who do not. And again, no commas. Now let's talk about the difference between the comma and the semicolon. A semicolon, unlike a comma, can go in the same place as a period. For example, fostering critical thinking is essential, period. Therefore, comma, teachers must ask their students probing questions. The same sentence, I could put a semicolon. The only difference is that I do not capitalize the T for therefore. Now, it would be a mistake to only use a comma, as I would run into a comma splice error. You can also use semicolons when you're making a list and there is additional information within the list. For example, skillful teachers strive to foster critical thinking and reading. So I have two items in the first part of the list, semicolon, encourage engagement and effort. That's another list of two items, and spark intellectual curiosity and inquiry. So I have two more items. So using a semicolon would be more effective than just a comma because I have two items that I list within each part. Let's talk about apostrophes with possessive singular nouns. Usually we use an apostrophe S whenever we have a singular possessive noun. For example, I have Julian's laptop. That means the laptop of Julian's. The book's cover, the cover of the book, or my backpack's zipper. Now, if the singular noun ends in the letter S already, you can choose, you have two options. You can either add the apostrophe S or just an S plus an apostrophe. So if I say James, it already ends with an S, I can say James apostrophe S laptop or simply James apostrophe laptop. The thesis emphasis or the thesis with no additional S emphasis. Either way is correct. Now, when we have plural nouns, I already have an S for parents, for example, so I only need to include an apostrophe, my parents' house, or the students' email addresses, or the article's different emphasis. Now, it may get a little trickier when the possessive is from irregular plural nouns. For example, if I say children, children is already a possessive, so I cannot put an S after the end. I only can put an apostrophe S. People is plural, so apostrophe S, and data's apostrophe S because data is plural. When we talk about decades, we would say 1970s, no apostrophe, but with an S, and it would be incorrect to say 1970 apostrophe S. However, do use an apostrophe to show that you're leaving out any numbers or letters. So if I say that I went to school in the 80s, I would put an apostrophe before 80 and the S after the 0. Or if I'm making a contraction of was not, I would say wasn't as expensive as back then. And finally, here are some tips for mastering punctuation. Use resources to help you understand punctuation rules. Be open to seeking help. Reach out to us for individual tutoring. Read your papers out loud to help you recognize natural pauses that can be emphasized with correct punctuation, or punctuation that creates unnecessary pauses and should be deleted. Try to read your papers backwards to help you catch punctuation errors that your eyes might normally skim over. And here are some helpful resources, and here is our email and contact in case you would like to reach out to us. Thank you.